Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the PSGL YouTube channel. It is the turn of the F7 League to take centre stage here for their Season 27 curtain raiser here at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne. My name is Jake, and I hope you're all having a fantastic evening. As always, a huge thank you to Brutal Democracy, who sponsor PSGL, and they'll be providing a lot of prize money for our top 3 tiers this season. The focus very much on F7 tonight, and as you can tell already, and I'm delighted to say, we have a full grid for the season opener. Absolutely fantastic. And just a one reserve, actually. That is VRT Valken, who is replacing Morgan, who actually had already let the admin know that he wasn't going to be able to race tonight. So absolutely fantastic attendance from F7, and that is great to see. And hopefully it means we're in for a fantastic evenings of racing. Of course, we had a pre-season race last week, which I will go over very quickly once I've got everything up. There we go. I'll quickly go on board with one of the drivers. Just my TV down a little bit there. Yeah, so in the pre-season race last week, it was actually Podium that took the win, ahead of Tom AJ in second, with Juice in third. We got Valken, who finished 4th, Tim Matz in 5th, and Game Freaker in 6th. It very much came down to penalties at the end of the Bahrain race in the end, and it really displayed how close this tier is going to be. Obviously, we've got TNR Jonas in the Racing Point, who is a reigning F7 champion. Of course, last season, F7 was only the second best Sunday tier in terms of how the PSGL system works. Of course, now the F7 tier is the main tier on a Sunday evening. So this is very much the best of those drivers that race on Sundays. And we've got a lot of talent on this grid. Of course, the duo that sticks out is TNR Jonas and Juice in the Racing Point. But there's plenty of other drivers who I think will be right up there as well. Just a bit about the venue for tonight. We're at the Albert Park circuit. It first hosted F1 races back in the 1950s. But has of course been redeveloped sizably since then, and has hosted races in its current format since 1996. It's situated around the Albert Park Lake and is run on roads that normally are open to the public. 3.2 miles make up this street circuit. There are 16 corners with 6 to the left, 10 to the right, 3 DRS zones to promote overtaking, and 29 laps are in front of the drivers tonight. With a lap record set way back in 2004 on a 1:24.1 by Michael Schumacher. We'll be seeing times comfortably underneath that this evening. I expect the pole time to be around probably the low to mid 119s. I'll be a little bit shocked if we see anything in the 18s, but I wouldn't bet against it either. We've got Sam here, just coming around just the end of the second sector. I left a little bit of space on the edge of the fast chicane there. Doesn't look overly comfortable as of yet with his AlphaTauri. Admitted in a build-up to this, he's been struggling a little bit for outright pace compared to some of the other times we've seen people in this field do. And you can see a little bit of hesitation coming into the final corner. This is very much, I think, a banker from Sam, and he's going to come across the line to do a 1:20.2. We meanwhile now switch to Juice, very much the form horse of last season in F7 when he joined. If he had been in since the start of the season, it could be argued that he could have taken the title ahead of Jonas. We'll see how they get on as teammates this year. It should be a very formidable lineup. Valken's gone quickest for now. Juice pops it into 4th, and you can already see 4 drivers in the 119.9 region. That just shows just how close it's going to be. I've gone board with Rowan in the Mercedes. Perhaps a driver with a bit of point to prove. Struggled at times last season in F7 compared to some of the other drivers we've got in the field. But nevertheless, he's very quick on his day and could definitely steal some very good results this season. He goes into 6th place for the time being. Felix has gone up into 5th. Got Howdy on a lap. We've got Jonas on a lap in the other Racing Point. What can he do? The reigning champion in his first session of the season. Massive amounts of oversteer there through turn 13. Now braking into very tricky, the slowest corner on track, turn 15, and it's all about trying to get the power on as early as possible through the final corner, going up to the line. What's his first lap time going to be? from our reigning champion. It's good enough for 5th. Just slotted in behind his teammate, and wow, it is incredibly close. We've got Free Gloves in 2nd, Tim Mats in 3rd, and already looking quite incredibly close at the sharp end of the field. Lando Biz has come into the pits. He invalidated his lap, as has Fulkenberger. Let's go on board with Furry Lando. Quite aptly called Lando, and he's in the McLaren. I'm sure that wasn't an accidental ploy there. Teammates he is with TRT James. Gotta be honest, 2 of the drivers I know probably less about. But looking really at their sort of seasons last time around, it really does make an interesting one, because Furry Lando got 20 points in F8 last season, as he very much aborts that lap. What have I just witnessed? He's very lucky that I didn't destroy his car, because that really would have been a big blow to his qualifying if he hadn't been able to complete the lap. Yeah, 20 points in F8 last season, but he only actually had 5 starts and 2 finishes in that, so he got a 2nd place at Brazil and a 4th place at Austin, so clearly he's got a lot of pace. But consistency will very much be key for this season if he wants to really take it up to that next level. As for TRT James, it was very much different for him last season. He struggled in F6, scoring just 7 points. He started 9 races, but he only got 2 points finishes. His best was a 7th at Canada, so you got one driver in Furry Lando on a high from his time in F8. Although having said that, he is now out of qualifying, so that's all gone wrong for him, and not quite sure what happened there, if I'm being completely honest. Tom AJ, quite a long run there. Bryn has invalidated his lap. Howdy's coming into the pits. We'll go on board with Free Gloves. Yeah, we'll go on board with Free Gloves, and he's about to start a lap. He's halfway through his out lap. But yeah, James obviously in a higher tier than a lot of these drivers last season, but didn't exactly score very well. So it's going to be about gaining that confidence in these early races, if he can, and seeing where that takes him. Game Freaker, who's currently in 11th, actually got 2nd in the F7 Championship in the end, ahead of Juice, despite Juice's incredible form at the latter part of the season. So, really, there's a lot of names here who you would not be surprised to see up in the Championship reckoning later on in the season. But now it's very much about getting those points on the board. You know, so just round one of 12 this season. We head to Silverstone next week for many of these drivers' home Grand Prix. And Free Gloves starts his 2nd flying lap, currently P2 on the grid as it stands, and we'll see if he can find any more time. The pole time, I believe, in F8, I was watching the vast majority of that qualifying session, I believe the pole time in F8 was a 1:19.4. So we really should be expecting some quicker times here as the track begins to rub us in. Free Gloves is marginally up through Sector 1, using all the track there, and then this easy right-hand kink. Just got to bring it over to the left-hand side of the road now, turning into the 910 Clark chicane. Looks fairly smooth from there. It's important to get on the power nice and smoothly. You don't want to scrub off any speed on the exit. And out to the end of the 2nd sector. Free Gloves still marginally from what he did before. It's all about how he exits this chicane again. Looks pretty nice. And he lifts off, so obviously not happy as TRT James goes on to provisional pole position. Gotta be honest, I didn't really catch that lap from him there, but that's a great effort. 1:19.7 from TRT James, and that's exactly the confidence boost that he needed at the start of this season. That's a great effort. We've got Valken now going through the final couple of corners. He's looked very, very quick so far, both in the pre-season race last week and obviously in the early stages of qualifying this week. What's he going to do? TRT James did a 1:19.7. Is Valken about to take pole? Yes, he is. A 1:19.2. That's a superb lap from him. And that's going to take some stopping, I would say. That's going to be a real big benchmark to set. Just trying to find anyone who's on a lap. We've got Ugi Azim, the veteran of PSGL, across the line. He goes 7th, just in front of Felix. And speaking of Felix, one of the more established names in F6 last season, actually got 59 points and took a win at Spain. So I would definitely suggest Felix is one of those drivers who should be up there at the sharp end of the championship in F7. Oh, but he's invalidated his lap there, so he'll have to go again on that one. I suppose you know he's also my commentary co-commentator for F4, which will be tomorrow night, along with the Pinnacle F1 tier. And now Frankie, a driver who didn't actually do too many races in F7 last year, but when he did race, he looked very quick. Actually took the season opener win. And I actually said to him after that, are you going to be thinking about a championship? And that was when he told me, I'm not actually going to be able to do too many more races this season. Hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of him this time around, and there's definitely a lot of potential there for him. What's Frankie going to do around the far corner this lap? He's currently just 4 tenths up on what he's done previously, so this lap time should put him pretty close to the sharp end. It does indeed. He goes 3rd place on a 1:19.8. And we've got Game Freaker, also an improvement. Looks like he ran a bit deep there into turn 15. I only caught the latter end of it though, so unsure as to how much time that will have lost him. And it's a 1:20.8, which is still not as competitive as he would have liked at this stage. Still plenty of time in qualifying to go though. Now on board with Brint in the Red Bull, another driver who was in F6 last season. F6 of course then was the top Sunday tier. It is now F7 with all top 6 tiers being run on Monday, and Bryn has unfortunately crashed into the wall there in the exit of the Clark chicane, so he'll have to return that car to the pits. Tim Matz went for another lap and nearly improved. He was only 34 thousandths of a second off, but for now he stays in that 5th spot. See who else have we got out there at the moment. Throwing on a lap. No, he's not. So I'll follow... Yeah, Game Freak has left off. So we'll follow Sam around this lap then. Currently just underneath a 10th of a second up on his previous lap time. Sam was one of the stars of the show in F8 last year. 3rd in the championship, was very much in the championship reckoning for a lot of the campaign, ultimately losing out to Callum Anderson, who is one of the reserves for this league. Not racing tonight, thanks to the fact we've got so many drivers anyway, and I don't think he'd have been able to make it regardless. Powdy's qualifying session is over. I don't know if he binned it or not, or if it's that's just he's retired from the session. But he'll be starting right from the back, as will Furry Lando. I'll see if Sam can push himself into the top 10. Oh, ran a bit deep there. That wasn't optimum. That will cost him a temp or two, I suspect. Up to the line Sam goes. He does improve up to 7th on a 19.9. And we've got TD Sen on a lap. Another one of the drivers down from F6 last season, but showed pretty well actually. He was a regular starter, started 12 out of 13 races, and scored 2 5th places at Vietnam and Canada, so a few tracks where he can really make a difference with either corner quitting penalties or just avoiding walls, and he seemed to show pretty well, so he could be one to look out for. Oh my goodness me, he's out the session. Wow, 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 I can't believe what I've just seen there. He goes into the wall on the pit lane entry point, and that is a real disaster for him. And that's the end of his qualifying, and I horribly think I may have jinxed him there. I hope he'll forgive me for that. But yeah, that was quite bizarre in all honesty. It is a very good start indeed for Valken. No one yet got within half a second of his lap time, which I would be shocked if that stayed that way. Felix is on a personal best at the moment. Oh, but he's invalidated on the exit of the turns 11 and 12 chicane, and that's cost him that lap. That's a real shame because he was really looking like he was going to go quicker. He's still attacking it, so I wonder if he's Just wondering if he's wanting to see just how much time he could find, but he will now go back into the pits, and he will have to rush back out on track as well, because running out of time here, just 3 minutes left in the session. And we've got Tom AJ, who's out on a lap. Second place in the pre-season race last week. He actually really impressed me with his driving in that one. And it's a good confidence booster for him. Let's see if he can carry this on. Obviously his lap time at the moment won't be too representative of 21.5. We'll see if this lap pushes him any further up to the sharp end. In the Haas, historically not a car people really want to drive on this game, but two drivers had to drive it in the end. Tom improves to 12th on a 20.2. Not the pace he would have really hoped for. And we've got VRT Valken back out for another effort. I mean, does he need to go any quicker? Well, if he does, he is finding time. He's found almost 2 tenths in Sector 1. Bryn has crashed out there. You saw that on the exit of turns 6 and 7, I believe that was. And that's Bryn's qualifying session over. So we've got 4 drivers who were not going to be doing a lap time. And I know that Bryn and TD Sen crashed out. I'm not sure about Furlando and Powdy. But Valken is finding just more and more pace, but he's going off the track, and that will be no improvement for him there. I don't think we have anyone out on a lap. Is Tom going for another lap? No, he's not. Just going to try and see if I can who's starting a lap first. I believe it's Oogie Azim. So we're going to follow Oogie on his lap. And this is very much going to be the final laps of this qualifying session for our drivers to see if they can find just that little bit more time. Can anyone take pole position off Valken? It's going to be some ask, I have to say. But the scary thing I found there was that Valken was actually finding some more time before he went off into the gravel trap. So here we go then. Oogie, got James on a lap, we've got Tim Matz, we've also got Game Freaker and Hulkenberger, the 2 Renaults, last season's Constructors Champions. Game Freaker and Hulkenberger at McLaren switched their allegiance to Renault this year, but not so far at the qualifying session I would hope for, and I think they acknowledge it's going to be tough to maintain that Constructors crown. What can Oogie do? Currently in 9th place. Obviously Oogie hasn't actually raced in the equal performance leagues for a little while, but does actually consistently race in the FP League and shows pretty well there. Actually had a pretty good opening race in Australia in the FP League, so we'll see how Oogie gets on here around the final corners. Looking like he's going to improve, find some time. This is looking like a very nice lap from Oogie. What's it going to be good enough for? It's good enough for 2nd place. It's on the front row of the grid, and that's a great effort from him there. Just trying to see who else we've got on a lap. James is done. He's not going to improve. We've got Tim Matz currently in P6. There's a car just in front of him. I think Tim Matz might have lifted off here. It doesn't look like he's going. Oh no, he's definitely still going for it. It's quite deceiving there. But he improves and goes up to 4th on a 19.7. And Free Gloves now around the final corner. He's finding some time as well, so I think we're going to see some big moves here. Free Gloves goes up to 3rd. Great lap. Brunky's finding a bit of time. Juice goes up to 6th. In the Racing Point, the 2 Racing Points not quite where they would expect to be. They're going to have some big competition this season, now, which is evident. Jonis goes 4th right at the last. So great lap time from him as well. We've got Felix as well, who's improving. He's 3 tenths up. I don't think there's many other drivers. Frunky as well, so both Williams cars leaving it till the last. Can either of them take Valken off pole position? Felix around the final corner, up to the line. What can Felix manage? It's good enough for the front row of the grid. Great effort from him. Felix up to 2nd place. Oogie went for a 2nd lap on the soft tyres, and he goes 2nd. Where did that lap time come from? Great stuff. Frunky's invalidated, so he will not improve. And I believe that is it for your qualifying session, but some big surprises there at the end. Valken does clinch pole position, but Oogie doing 2 laps on those soft tyres pops it up to 2nd. Nice effort from him. Felix in 3rd. Free Gloves in 4th. Last season's champion Jonis in 5th. We've got TRT James 6th. Tim Matt 7th. Juice in 8th. Frunky 9th, and Sam completes the top 10. and got Rowan, Tom AJ, Game Freaker, Hulkenberger and Mark, and then we got 5 drivers in Furby Lando, Bryn, TB Sen, Powdy and Bando Biz that didn't actually get a lap time in. What a dramatic end to that qualifying session, and well done to Valken on pole position. Well done to Oogie as well, doing a second lap on the soft tyres. You wouldn't usually recommend doing that around here, and he may pay for that in the race, we'll see, but nevertheless, it was a great effort to pop it into second. Felix also finding that time for third in the end. Free Gloves in fourth. Jonas popping it up to fifth. And like I said, top 10 complete by James, Tim, Match, Juice, Frunky and Sam. And look here further down, you can see some drivers that didn't get lap times in. A few shocks in there. Powdy, I would have expected to have done a lap. I would have expected a bit more from the Renault duo. I know Hulk was struggling coming into this one, but Game Freaker, usually we see a bit more from him than that. But there's 20 drivers, and this is going to be one a chaotic Australian Grand Prix. Got a dry start to this PSGL F7 season opener. All drivers want to impress at the start of the season. Obviously, you know, it's not about how you start the season, it is about how you finish, but good results breed confidence and you can take those going forward. And let's put it this way, you don't want to have too many bad races at the start of the season, because that effectively ends your title chances before they've ever really begun. And I do suspect in this league there's a lot of drivers that fancy their chances of a cheeky little championship challenge. But that qualifying session will definitely have raised a few eyebrows. There's a few drivers that we've just seen lap times from who maybe people wouldn't have expected to see up there. And we'll see how the race goes. We're about to get underway here. And we can see what drivers outside the top 10 have opted to do with their starting tyre. There's not too much difference between the pace of the mediums and hards around here, so we could see a few drivers starting on the hard compound tyre. Let's have a look. Yeah, well, oh Jesus, I didn't expect it to be that much, but yeah, nobody's actually elected to start on medium tyres. We have got Rowan, Furby Lando, TB Sen and Bando Biz who have opted to start on softs, but then the rest of them, Tom AJ, both Renaults, Mark, Bryn and Powdy, all starting on the hard compound tyre, and that'll be a hard to soft strategy, I suspect. We'll be looking to run deep into the race on those hard tyres. Of course, with there being 20 drivers, the safety car is very much a possibility here, especially as quite a few places drivers can make mistakes, and there's not too much runoff area either. And so we'll see how this develops over the course of the 29 laps. Valken leading the field around on the outlap. See if we've got any thoughts of the drivers. Yeah, I was going to say, just seeing the thoughts of the F7 drivers after that qualifying session. A lot of drivers pretty astonished by Valken's pace. A few drivers worried about their pace as well. Juice also believing he had more time in the locker, but was complaining about traffic in qualifying. So, of course, with 20 drivers, traffic is going to be more of an issue than normal. But Juice believed he could have done a 0.3 if all had gone well, so it's interesting to see how he does in the race. And in terms of opening pit stops, you probably expect to see people in maybe around laps 9 or 10, I'd say, on the soft tyres. Yugi might be the first one in due to the extra amount of laps he's done on his softs. But that'll be all discovered in the next hour or so. The driver's lining up on the grid. Tim Matt's already lining up there after his disqualification from the outlap. Or formation lap rather. And the driver's now lining up, ready for the race start here. Season open at the Albert Park circuit, nerves will be high. who is going to get an all-important opening win of the season. We are just seconds away from lights out now. Here come the lights out. We've got Valken on the right, Oogie on the left. The F7 season is underway. It looks like a pretty decent start overall. Oh, there's a massive incident already at the back. Looks like Valken's got into the lead. Further behind, Oogie's in second. We've already got a virtual safety car. Absolute carnage has unfolded at the back. I'm going to try and find out what's happened there. Very difficult to see. Trying to see if it's Podium, a driver that was involved now. It doesn't look like it. We've got a Haas without a front wing, so that would suggest that's Tom AJ who hasn't got a front wing. No, he hasn't. So Tom was one of the drivers involved in that drama at the start, and that was quite an incredible impact to see that early on in the race. But it's Valken that leads. We've got Felix up into second. Oogie is third. Free Gloves is in fourth. And Jonas and Juice are both together in sixth and seventh. It looks like it might be just Tom who's got the damage there. If it is just Tom, that's incredible. We've already got loads of penalties as well further down the field. But we're back underway here. Green flag's underway. I don't know why there's a blue light there. Waving. That's slightly bizarre. But Valken does lead this race. And now it's about settling down into the rhythm of this one after that carnage impacted start. Tom AJ, I suspect to see it in the pits very soon. Both racing points line astern in 6th and 7th places right now. And we've got some battling going further down. Is that Hulkenberger? I believe that is Hulkenberger. Oh, we've got another yellow flag in sector 3. We've got Sam as well in the pits. And Rowan. So Sam and Rowan also collected damage. We've got... That's Ferry Lando and Frunky going side by side into turn 3. It looks like Frunky's just outbroke from McLaren, so Frunky keeps hold of 9th place for now. Does two become slightly disjointed from the cars in front of them. And yeah, you can see Sam Rowan and Tom all going on to hard tyres. It's not the start to the season they would have hoped for. They'll be hoping perhaps that something can bring them back into it later on, maybe a safety car. And some more incidents we shall see. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. That could be for Bryn, I suspect. Through these fast corners 11 and 12. Free Gloves right on the back of Oogie as the top two start to stretch out a bit of an advantage out front. They're really trying to make a run for it here. Felix was one of the drivers who I think was impressed with Valken's pace in qualifying, and his job now will be to try and stay with the Ferrari driver. Of course, DRS will be in operation very soon. That wasn't a great exit from Free Gloves out to that final corner, and that gives the opportunity for James to make the move down the inside into turn 1, but he thinks better of it. It's a difficult corner to overtake on that one, and James ultimately decided it wasn't the right opportunity, but at the same time he's actually not giving himself the best exit out the following corner, and Jonas going right to the outside. Is he going to be able to make that stick? Not quite. He went a bit too deep into the corner. Mark is out of the race. So we've lost Mark out of the race, trying to see whether there's anything else in the pit lane. So Mark has just decided that's enough for his race this evening. But Jonas nearly getting past James there, but couldn't quite manage it. And Mark becomes the first retirement of the F7 season. Real shame for him, but ultimately decided it wasn't worth carrying on in that one. He only had one start in F6 as a reserve last season, and that was a DNF at Brazil, so really could do with ending that run of DNF sooner rather than later, if it's all possible. Hopefully next week works out better for him, but you can see already that James is starting to fall into the clutches of the racing points, and obviously we know Jonas and Juice really fought hard for the title last season. It'd be interesting to see how the dynamic is as teammates. Will there be any team orders at play there? You would suspect not, but you get the feeling here they are almost being held up slightly. We got Bando Biz Looking to try and make a move on Hulkenberger here further down the field for P12. He's going to try and go around the outside of turn 1. Hulkenberger really struggling, it looks like, on those soft tyres right now. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. I'm not sure what that's all about, but Bando Biz is going to make the move as Bryn also passes Game Freaker at the same time. So both Renaults losing a place there almost instantaneously, and not the start they would have been looking for either. Got another yellow flag in sector 3. What is going on in sector 3? Looks like we've got Rowan. So it's Rowan here struggling. Oh, he's just recovering from a spin. It's been an absolute disaster for Mercedes. Not quite, even bigger disaster than they had in a real race today, but real shame for Rowan, and looks like Mercedes might be leaving Australia pretty pointless after this one. As he returns to the pits, and we now focus our attention to Jonas, who is still behind James, but there is a virtual safety car because Furry Lando is out of the race. Rowan has also retired, so we've lost a few more drivers. Furry Lando looks like he's crashed out somewhere. I'm going to try and see if I can catch that on board with Sam. Stay on board with Sam for a bit. Oh, wait a minute, we've got some pit stops happening here. We've got Valken, the race leader, taking advantage of a virtual safety car and getting rid of those soft tyres for a set of hards. Interesting. Not the only one. Free Gloves, Frunky and Bando Biz have also opted to pit. It's quite early for a stop, but they've obviously decided the lack of time they'll lose with a virtual safety car is worth the gamble. And we've also got a drive-through penalty which just popped up there. I don't know if I can see. Oh, drive-through for Sam, so his race is just going from bad to worse at the moment. And we are back underway. So Felix now leads. Ugi running in second. James in third. We've got the Racing Points, Linus Stone fourth and fifth. And a lot of different strategies now are going to be at play because of those early stops. It's going to be interesting how this race develops. I didn't quite catch, unfortunately, where Lando crashed out, but a real shame for Furry Lando. We have lost 3 drivers now, both Mercedes and a McLaren. Thankfully for the McLaren outfit, their other driver is running in third place. And Uki's sticking pretty nicely now with Felix. He seems to struggle a little bit at the start, but seems to be finding a good rhythm right now. He's using some, not using some ERS rather, at the moment. Not feeling he's not quite close enough. Obviously, it isn't the easiest track to overtake on this one, despite the 3 DRS zones. It is very difficult. And you can't help feeling here, what are Racing Point going to do with this situation? They could probably do with clearing that McLaren if at all possible. You feel like there's more pace in there for them. Have a good bit of reduce for Valken and the other drivers who pitted early, as we've got a car in the pits. Oh, we've got a car. Is that Frunky? Frunky slowed down there. I don't know what that was going on there, but Frunky brought out a yellow flag there. It was going quite slowly there. So what was happening there? It doesn't look like there's any damage to that Williams. And we've got a yellow flag down in sector 3. Oh, there's Sam. Sam's going really, really slowly. What's Sam been up to? I wonder if his AlphaTauri is heading towards retirement. He's got wing damage as well. So he's obviously been into a wall somewhere. That would explain the reason for the yellow flags on that one. And is Sam going to call it a day there, or is he going to try and keep going for the rest of the race? We shall see. No, Sam has decided that's it. So there's a 4th retirement of the race so far. Ugi very close up behind Felix now, actually starting to pull us in just that little bit. But yeah, the good news is, as I was going to say, for Valken, Free Gloves and the others who pitted under virtual safety cars, they're not really in any traffic at the moment, which means they can run at their own pace and there's no real threat to them, so to speak. There's no traffic for them to clear, so they won't lose too much time at the moment. Valken is a couple of seconds behind Powdy, but ultimately things are looking pretty good at the moment. It's going to be interesting how these strategies work out. It's going to be tough to run the hards all the way to the end from here, but we'll see if they manage it. Oh, and Felix has picked up a penalty. And Jonas and Juice have also got penalties. There's a lot of penalties here. I'm guessing, yeah, just a 3 seconds worth at a moment. This could be absolutely critical come the end of a race. A lot of drivers struggling with track limits right now. Got another yellow flag in sector 3, and also like it's Bryn. Bryn's gone into the wall. Bryn's going to the wall. I believe that's out of turns 11 and 12 of fast chicane. He's probably gone wide, I'm guessing, on the exit and then spun across the track into the wall. There will be a lot of damage on that Red Bull, and indeed there is. So that's a real blow for Bryn. And still we're seeing if Juice can make a move. Oh, they've actually swapped. I wondered if they were going to do that, and they have. So with Racing Points, I don't know if it was done as an overtake, but the Racing Points have swapped positions. Juice is now in front of TNR Jonas, and it's going to be interesting to see if Juice has any better luck in passing James than his teammate did. It's clearly been done as a ploy, I think, for Racing Point to make that position up. They've also got Tim that's pretty close behind as well, so they can't afford really to keep losing time like this. They don't want to be cut adrift from the 2 race leaders for too much longer. James just maybe struggling to stay as close to the leaders as he would want. We are getting towards a pit stop window now. I'd say in the next few laps we should expect to see drivers in the top 7 make their first stops. But nobody pitting just yet on that one. Is Juice going to be close enough to entertain a move? I've got to say, Tim Mats is actually closing in a little bit on this trio here, so it could be a 4-way fight for 3rd place very shortly. Further down the field, we've got Powdy and Hulkenberger fighting like crazy over 9th at the moment, with Valken right on the back. So this is what I was saying earlier. Valken wasn't in traffic and could just run his own race, but now he's got some overtaking to do. We've seen him run out at the front very nicely, but what can he do? In traffic, he's very nicely cleared Hulkenberger, and he's now going to actually have a shout at Powdy down the very next straight. So Valken trying to make quick work of these drivers. He's going around the outside. Powdy brakes late though and positions his car very nicely, so nothing Valken can do on that occasion. He has to remain behind him for now, but look, he's got him on the exit of the next corner. That's an incredible move. You don't really see much overtaking there, but Valken really made that work, and he's passed Powdy, and he's dealt with those two very, very easily actually. I mean, more easy than I would have expected, so that's really good work from Valken. And he's running very nicely right now. If it was a ploy to get Racing Point past this McLaren, it's not really working so far. Are we going to see any pit stops now? We are indeed. Juice pits. So he's gone for the undercut on James. You could almost sense. So does Oogie actually. So Oogie pits as well. Juice has sped in the pit lane. Oh, that's not what he needed to do. That's going to really cost him, you suspect. Goes onto the hard tyres, and he's going to have a lot of penalty times to make up. That's 8 seconds worth he has already. But I sensed with the uncertainty over whether he was going to pit there, but he was almost waiting to see what James does and basically did whatever he didn't do. And wow, that's actually quite surprising. Valken's actually behind Oogie with the earlier stop out, and the fact that he did it under the virtual safety car, I wouldn't have expected that, but yeah, that's not worked out as well for Valken as I thought it would. That's a little bit surprising. And that definitely does open this race up. As Bando Biz has left the session, he's still in the race, so I wonder if he's lost connection now. He can rejoin now, thankfully. And what will Felix do? Will he want to respond to Oogie straight away? No, he doesn't. He carries on. Interesting from Felix. He doesn't cover off Oogie straight away. He's thinking of a different strategy, perhaps. We've got James and Jonas in the pits. We've got a Williams struggling, that's Frunky. Looks like Frunky's having a real torrid time of things. James and Jonas then pit. Jonas goes on to mediums, interestingly. So maybe that's what Felix is going to do as well. I mentioned there isn't too much differential between the mediums and hards around here, but it still might be a preferable strategy, and it has worked out for Juice. He has got the undercut on the McLaren of James, but it's very close, and James might have a chance of fighting back here. No, not quite. Juice keeps hold of 6th place on the road for now, so that's worked out quite beautifully for him. He couldn't clear the McLaren on track, so pitted a lap earlier and has got the undercut and made it stick. Nicely done. We've got Oogie right on the back of Game Freaker now. Of course, Game Freaker yet to stop, started on the hard compound tyre. Definitely the best of us who started on hards right now. I'm interested to see how this plays out for him later on. This Game Freaker very much used to good results as Frunky becomes our 5th retirement already, losing a lot of drivers here. So we've got a safety car. We have a safety car. And that changes everything, and Felix has pitted at the perfect time. That's worked out really nicely for Felix, because he can now go onto the soft tyres, and he won't lose too much time either. He can go into mediums rather, shall I say. And that really has worked beautifully for him, and for Tim Mats as well. Will Tim Mats rejoin in 2nd place perhaps here? Not quite. He's not going to rejoin in 2nd, but that's still worked out. And he's actually going to leapfrog both James and Jonas. So Felix maintains the lead and is now on mediums that he can run to the end. Got Oogie in 2nd, Valken 3rd, Tim Mats in 4th. And those who pitted under the virtual safety car, I don't think this really helps them, to be honest. The timing of this safety car, no doubt. No doubt about it, that's really not going to help him. Because he will have to stop again. And ultimately, those who have managed to pit recently are going to be in a much stronger position. So we've got James. What's happened to Juice? Oh, Juice has opted to serve his penalty and take on mediums. Interesting. That's actually not a bad call, really. So Juice takes on mediums, which he can run to the end now, and he's still in the points in 10th, and he could make some good ground up there. And he's actually only got. So let's have a look at penalties quickly. So Game Freaker's got 8 seconds. That's really going to cost him that pit lane penalty he got just now. But Felix has got 3 seconds, but he's got the potential to pull that out on the medium tyres. And then you've got 4 behind them who haven't actually picked up any penalties. Jonas with 3 seconds as well. Let's go back to the race leader then. So let's take stock then. We're on lap 12 here, just finishing lap 12. Felix leads. He started the race from 3rd place on the grid. Oogie's in 2nd, started 2nd, is still in 2nd. Valken was running in the lead early on and looked super quick, but he has dropped to 3rd place following an early pit stop under the virtual safety car. We've got Tim Mats in 4th. Run a very solid race so far. We've got a pit stop here. Game Freaker, I believe, has ultimately decided he wants to put on another set of mediums, and more importantly, he wants to get his pit stop and penalty out of the way. So Game Freaker opting to get rid of that penalty that he's got, which again makes sense, but will drop him right to the back of the field. He will be just in front of Tom AJ though, I reckon. It's going to be pretty close. Going to be close, but Game Freaker is going to be still in 14th, so quite a few different strategies going on still, but those who are on medium tyres now could potentially have a much better restart. It's going to be difficult starting on cold hard tyres. You're going to struggle for pace. I think Brin's picked up a penalty as well for contact with Hulkenberger under a safety car, so that'll be 5 seconds added to his time as well. And AC just trying to warm the tyres up in the safety car. Felix's game plan will be quite simple here. He'll want to pull away as quickly as possible. Safety car coming in this lap. Everyone's caught up to it. No one's straggling at the back, so... And Tom A.J., interestingly, is on soft tyres, which is a bit of a bizarre one. He's going to have to stop again. His only hope, really, is another safety car, because having to stop one more time than everybody else, he's not going to be able to really make that time back. I guess he's thinking in 15th might as well be, let's try something different and see what happens. But Felix there leading the cars round. It's up to him when he decides to bolt. And Oogie's got to be as quick and alert as possible. Right, Felix is still not going yet. I think a lot of drivers would have expected him to go then. Right, he's gone for it now. Great camera angle game. Really appreciate that. Oh, and look at that. It's really caught out some of the drivers behind. So look at this. We've almost got 3-4 abreast here. But Oogie having to fend off Valken, who goes around the outside as contact further behind. Oh, and look at that. It was a pass into the wall. And Oogie has lost it. That's a disaster for him. And James is out of the session as well. So James is out of the session. We got Oogie in the wall. And there's been an absolute dramatic restart here. Well, Felix backed them up until the pit straight, and it seemed to catch a few of them out. Has Valken got any damage, I wonder? Because he was right in the middle of all of that happened. Jonas has moved up to second as a result. With James out of the race, he was running so well. Oogie as well. Has Hulkenberger got damage too? Well, Zugi actually got damage. I know he went into a wall. He must surely have some damage. Yeah, he does. He does have front wing damage. So it's the ideal restart for Felix, but for those behind, there's another safety car though. There's another safety car. I mean, not surprising. There's a lot of debris on the track. There's a lot of carnage. So at least for those with damage, it gives them the opportunity to pit and take on fresh tyres. But that was a bit of a messy restart, all things considered. And it's a real big blow for McLaren, who've lost both drivers as well as Mercedes now. So McLaren and Mercedes will not be scoring any points here this evening. And Felix will be slightly frustrated there because the gap he'd built has been lost. As Free Gloves comes into the pits. Has he got a change of front wing? No, just going on to softs, interestingly. Interesting strategy there from Free Gloves. We've got Oogie, Azim, Bando, Biz, Bryn. Oh, there's a lot of front wing changes going on here, so clearly a lot of drivers had contact. Bando, Biz going for hards is a very surprising strategy. I would have gone for mediums personally in this situation, but you can see the drivers leaving the pits now, and I'll be hoping for a much cleaner restart this time around. 14 drivers remain in this race. We've lost 6, unfortunately. But it is still Felix leading the race. Jonas up to second, Valken third, Tim Mats has quietly gone about his business in this one, it has to be said, up in 4th. TB Sen up in 5th. He had a disastrous qualifying session, bidding it in the pit lane, but is starting to come good in the race. Got Juice in 6th, Powdy. I mean, you could always expect to see Powdy in the points when you get these kind of unpredictable, eventful races. You can always expect Powdy to be right up there. So he's one to look out for. Tom A.J. on the softs in 8th. And the 2 Renaults, Game Freaker and Hulkenberger, completing the points at the moment. And then all the 4 drivers outside the points chose to pit either for damage or for strategy reasons under the safety car. I'm very surprised Valken has opted to stay out here. I would have half expected him to pit, really, with the safety car being out. Take better tyres. He's got the pace to overtake. He's already shown that, so... No, a little bit peculiar he's decided to stay out. He probably could run these to the end now, but ultimately he hasn't got as good of a tyres on as those around him. So... we'll see how that plays out for him, but I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't pitted. Felix, of course, been in this position before. He had to do a safety car restart literally only 3-4 laps ago, and he's going to have to do the same here again. Bando Biz back in the pit, so I'm guessing, I mean, I thought at the time that his decision to go on to hards was a bit peculiar. I wonder if that wasn't intentional, because he's come back into the pits and put on a set of mediums. So yeah, I did think the hard tire was a strange choice, and perhaps it wasn't the choice he intended to make. Safety car should be in at the end of this lap. Bando Biz will catch up pretty quickly. And the only driver in the top 5, or even 6 for that matter, who hasn't got a penalty is Tim Mats. Powdy as well doesn't have a penalty, so those two are going to be the ones to look out for. I mean, if there's a safety car again, it's only going to keep the gaps closer, and those without penalties are at a massive advantage because of that. Safety car is indeed in this lap, and Felix, this is like deja vu for him. He will be on the restart. He doesn't have Oogie behind him this time, though. He has the reigning champion, TNR Jonas, in the racing point, on the same tyres as him. And perhaps this won't be quite as simple for Felix to pull away as it was on the previous restart. Warming up the tyres nicely. Wants to make sure he's got all the confidence in the world when he gets to that braking point at turn 1. And he didn't bolt until the pit straight last time. Is he going to do the same again? Yes, he is. He's waiting quite a while. Once again, this is really going to bunch things up. He's gone for it now, and look how close everyone is. And this is going to allow an opportunity for Valken up the inside into turn 1. On the racing point of Jonas, they're going to go side by side again, but this time he can't back up, but Jonas goes wide through turn 1, and he's going to lose momentum. He loses P2 to Valken. He's lost 3rd place to Tim Mats, I believe, as well. Coming down into turn 3, Jonas brakes very late, trying to come back. He manages to get past Tim Mats, and nearly had a look at Valken at the same time, but he maintains and holds on to P3 in the end. But once again, Felix has judged that restart to perfection, and he's absolutely off. Two brilliant restarts from Felix have really helped him build a lead up again. And now we've got a lot of battling happening further behind. We've got the other pair of Racing Points and Ferraris battling now as Juice and TV Sen go side by side through the Clark chicane. And now through this next, was going to be Brave going through there. I think Juice opted to stay in front for now, but he's got a poor exit as TV Sen on against Powdy now. So Powdy takes P6, and there's another safety car, and we have another safety car, our 3rd safety car of the race. I'm not actually sure what that's for. I've got to be completely honest on that. I have no idea why we have a safety car. I'm going to try and see, has anyone at the back got damage? Doesn't look like Bando Biz has. What's Hulk? Is anyone in the pits? This will be a good tell. Oh, we do have Oogie in the pits. TB Sen's in the pits as well, so did he collect damage? Yeah, so we got TB Sen and Oogie in the pits. Has Oogie got any damage as well? Oh, he has. That's a real shame for Oogie. He's having a really good race up at the front earlier on, but it's kind of gone to pot under these last 2 safety car restarts. There was contact, I believe, with James on the first safety car restart. I didn't actually see it too well, so I don't actually know fully what happened. But both Oogie and TV Sen rejoin the race. Oogie on softs, TV Sen on mediums, and they'll be hoping they can try and rescue some points out of this. So now back to the race order. We've got Felix in the lead. Valken, he's had 3 safety car restarts to contend with Felix in the lead. He's nailed the previous 2, but each time it's been a different driver behind him. Oogie the first time, Jonas the second time, and now he's got Valken for company this one. But he always tends to wait to bolt until the pit straight, and each time it not only helps him get a really good lead, it helps bunch the other cars up and tends to cause a lot of battles and sometimes contact. So He's definitely helping his own race on those restarts, and I wouldn't expect anything different here. The question is, can Valken be alert enough to not let him get away with it this time? We've got Tim Mats still up in 4th. I tell you what, he just seems to be up there throughout this whole race, Tim Mats. He's driving a very mature race at the moment and just keeping himself out of trouble. Powdy up into 6th, Game Freak is 7th. Juice currently 5th. Looking at some very good haul of points for the likes of Racing Point. And obviously Williams been out in the lead as well. And maybe for Red Bull too. Brin's had his fair share of adventures, but he still finds himself in the points in 9th. And we've got Game Freaker actually in the pits, so... Game Freaker in the pits, and what's this all about? Oh, he's fitted on a set of softs. So no damage there, no reason for him to pit. He's just going aggressive and wants to take on a set of softs and see what happens. Maybe he's expecting another safety car period. It wouldn't be out of the question. This is already our 3rd one of our evening, so... This is going to be a big test for these drivers here, trying to hold their composure on this restart. There's big points on offer here for those drivers who hold it together, and obviously for those drivers without penalties, they will not mind these safety car sessions at all, because it just helps bunch the field up and keep the gaps low. So for the likes of Tim Mats and Powdy, that's definitely not an issue. Juice has an 8-second penalty, so he must have a 5-second penalty for some reason. That's not going to help him at all. Then you've got a big group of cars behind on 6 or 8 seconds worth of penalties. So really, you're sort of looking right now as the main drivers in contention, probably being the top 4 and then Powdy in 6th. Juice is going to struggle with those amount of penalties to pull that one back. Of course, depending on what the penalty's for, he might be able to get it removed after the race. But yeah, safety car in once again this lap, and I think, to be honest with you, they'll probably be wise to know him when Felix is going to bolt here. Maybe he'll shake it up and surprise us all, but I wouldn't count on it. So again, just leave him to warm up his tyres. Pretty sensible restarts up to now from Felix, and I wouldn't expect anything different here. He'll be pretty sick of doing this though. He'll hope this is the final time. And yeah, once again showing no real signs of bolting yet. Oh, but he's gone. He's gone early. Oh, I think he's caught Valken napping there, because I think he wouldn't have expected that. But Felix goes early this time around, and it's actually Juice who's had the best restart, and he's right behind Tim Mats. But he's not going to be close enough into turn 1. He's got a great exit though. Out the following corner, he's going to try and go for the inside, but Tim Mats covers that off. Juice switches to the outside line. Is he going to be able to make that stick? There's a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but Juice has held it perfectly around the outside and makes the move stick down the inside of the following corner. That was a very well-architected move there from Juice. Called it absolutely spot on, and Juice finds himself up into 4th. They both gave each other space, just enough space, and Juice took that with a move around the outside of a corner that usually doesn't tend to work too well for drivers that try that sort of move, but Juice held it nicely and managed to get the inside line for the following turn. So Juice up to 4th now then. Next up will be his teammate, but of course Juice does have 8 seconds worth of penalties to contend with. Once again, no matter what Felix does, he seems to nail these restarts. He's now 1.5 seconds clear again of Valken. And Valken's hard tyres will be starting to feel a little bit second-hand. You can see Jonas is already putting a lot of pressure on the Ferrari driver here, and I wonder if he'll use some overtake here to try and make the move stick. He'll sense that there's an opportunity there. Obviously no DRS yet, but if he can stay that close, he's going to be able to make a move, surely. Valken, I said it at the time, I'm a little bit surprised he didn't come in for some medium tyres, because those second-rate hard tyres are going to be beginning to cost him some time. Jonas tries to go for the outside, but not quite close enough to make that one stick at this moment in time. And you can see there's a bit of a train starting to develop behind Valken now. with Felix quite happily driving away. Felix will be feeling quite happy with how this race is going so far, but you never know what's going to happen in the concluding laps here. Through the Clark chicane, the two racing points right close together once again. Seems like these racing points can't be split apart from each other. And of course, we saw earlier, Juice was, I think, let through by Jonas in order to have an attack on, it was James at the time. I don't suspect we'll see anything similar happening here, just because of how few laps are left, and effectively this will be for position. There are no pit stops left for these drivers now. So if Juice wants to get past his teammate, he'll probably have to make an overtake this time. But I suspect that Jonas may have a great opportunity to take P2 down this following straight. He hasn't had the best of exits though. That's a little bit disappointing. Obviously DRS not in operation yet anyway, but he may have DRS out of this turn here. How close is he going to be is the question. You know, the answer is not as close as he would have been hoping to be. Further down the field we've got Bryn and Free Gloves battling down to turn 3, and Free Gloves fighting back against Bryn, taking the inside line, and Free Gloves up into 8th place, and Bryn goes into the wall. Massive snap of oversteer on the exit of that turn, and Bryn is into the wall and got front wing damage. And that's really going to cost Bryn now for the rest of this race. He'll have to pit, and his chance of points probably gone with that mistake. Jonas then still right on the back of Valken for P2. See Felix just continuing to stretch out that lead. One thing he needs to avoid now is any further penalties, muddling things up. But with DRS available, Jonas goes for the outside line into turn 13. Is he going to be able to make it stick around the outside of turn 14? This is very brave stuff, but Jonas has done it. Great overtake, great respect between the pair of them. And Jonas has taken P2 with a sensational move around the outside of turn 14. And that's going to allow his opportunity for his teammate now to follow him through. What can Valken do to defend this? He's really starting to struggle for pace on those hard tyres, you suspect. And pulling down now, is he going to... He made a move around the outside of his corner. Earlier on there was a late move there. Oh, but Valken just fends him off, breaks late enough, covers the line off. Tim Mats slots him right behind him as well. Of course, he will know if he can avoid a penalty, there's an opportunity for him to gain quite a few positions come the checkered flag. So he might be slightly less rash about making a move. You can see already Jonas has pulled out over a second on Valken. You can see what a difference that's made. And if anything, Jonas coming back at Felix as Juice gets another penalty. That's going to really cost him, especially with some drivers behind. Either not with penalties or with less penalties, not too far behind either at that. So Juice, that could be a really crucial penalty come the end. And Tim Mats can sit there knowing he doesn't need to make an overtake here. He can just sort of let these two fight it out for P3. And a good result definitely beckons. I have to say though, is Felix struggling for pace, because Jonas is really starting to come back at him here. Maybe he's pacing himself slightly, but nevertheless he might need to pick up the pace again, because he cannot afford. Jonas is absolutely flying. And he's closing Felix down at quite a rate of knots here. He smells a win here, does the reigning champion. And Felix might need to get his head back in gear here and try and find some pace back, because right now there's nothing he can do as Valken and Juice go side by side once again. But again, Valken fends him off. I do kind of feel, and if Juice wants to make this move stick, he might have to do what his teammate did and find a slightly unorthodox overtaking spot, because Valken has the defence for that corner pretty well figured out now. But it doesn't... Well, Jonas is going to have DRS soon. That's going to be absolutely key in terms of the one last look at... Yeah, so 3 seconds, just on 11 seconds. So yeah, they're all pretty much on similar amounts of penalties here at the front. So Jonas, if he does want to win this race at the moment, will have to overtake Felix on the track. And he's in DRS range, and it looked like Felix was going to cruise to this one, but since Jonas has overtaken Valken, he's absolutely flown down the road. Further down the field, we've got Tom, AJ and Free Gloves, and I tell you what, that could be a change in position as well, because Freak Tom AJ's soft tyres will be beginning to feel a little second hand, I suspect. We're going to see an overtake here, perhaps. Free gloves with DRS open, not using overtake, maybe saving it for the next straight, perhaps. He stays pretty close there through turns 2 and 3. Here we go then into the DRS zone. He's going to have the inside line here. Tom AJ doesn't fight it off too much. And this time Juice has made it way past Valken as well. So Juice finally perfects that move and Valken has no defence. Juice takes third place on the road. But as you can already tell, Jonas, his teammate, is absolutely gone. And of course, with Juice's penalties, it's all about trying to just go as quickly as possible now, because he knows he's probably going to lose quite a few positions at the line due to those penalties he's picked up. Here we go, we're battle for the race lead here. I don't think we were going to be having that a few laps ago, but Jonas has really put his foot to the floor in his attempt to catch the race leader. Felix has saved a lot of ERS though. That is something to put into consideration, so he'll be able to deploy that in his attempts to defend. This is going to be a cracking battle to the end now. Just 4 laps to go when they cross the line. And who is going to win this cracking Australian Grand Prix? Drama throughout. Further behind we've got Tim Mats, who might be about to make a move on Valken. Is he? No, he's not quite close enough. Free gloves up to 6 past Tom AJ now as well. And he's beginning to close in on these drivers. I wonder if Tom on those soft tyres as well will be starting to have some wear issues. That's something to keep an eye on. Powdy's dropping down the order a lot, so he's struggling a lot for pace. He was in 8th, he's now down to 10th. Still line, the stern free gloves is definitely gaining on them. I'm going to see if Powdy's got any damage, because he just looks to be struggling for pace. He's now got TB Sen overtaking him around the outside of the entry to the Clark chicane. So Powdy now drops out of the points provisionally. He's trying to fight back though against the Ferrari driver. Is he going to do it? No, he's not. Bando Biz picks up a penalty. That could be crucial for him as well. So it looks like there might be a little bit of front wing damage on that Alfa Romeo now I look at it, so that could explain Powdy's lack of pace there, because he has been struggling a lot in recent laps. Big C3 gloves very much involved in the scrap now. As Bryn picks up a penalty, he's right at the back, so that really doesn't help his chances. Still Felix fending off Jonas at the front of battle. The gap less than a second now. And Juice really not pulling away from Valken the way you might have expected. If anything, he's kind of pulling back into the clutches of the Ferrari driver, and a train developing here between 3rd and 6th place. Tom AJ is struggling for pace. No surprise there. Juice picks up another penalty. Oh, these penalties are really going to cost him across the line. He could potentially drop. I suspect he may even drop out of points if he's not careful. That's how badly these penalties will affect his result here. So one of the favourites, I would have said, for the F7 title might be having a difficult start to the season here. Just because of penalties, nothing else. He's 3rd on the road, but he's definitely not going to finish there. Meanwhile, back to the lead, Jonas. Right, as well, fair play as well to Tim Mats, Oogie and Powdy, who haven't picked up any penalties and could be set to reap the rewards from them in a couple of laps' time. Jonas has saved up some of his ERS, he's still not close enough, so maybe he's just thinking, well, last lap charge, save up his ERS until then, and just try and get closer to Felix. Just try and take this win. Were 2 of the drivers I thought would be in contention this season. Obviously, Jonas being a reigning champion, you can always never rule him out. As Valken goes up the inside of Juice and there's contact! And Valken spun! Oh, he's tried to hold it, but he's now spun completely. Oh, and that's a real disaster for Valken. There wasn't much contact there between him and Juice, but it was enough to send the Ferrari round. And that has ruined any chance Valken had of a podium this evening. and maybe just needed to be a touch more patient there on that one. And that hands Tim Matz the perfect opportunity here to take third place. Obviously the gap now that's developed between the two racing points means that third place is probably the only position that's on offer, barring any additional penalties. But that would be an excellent result for him on his first race of season 27 at Red Bull this season, after spending last season at Ferrari. And he couldn't have asked for much more, I don't think, out of tonight's race. He really has been Mr. Consistent this evening. And here we go then, the leading pair about to start the final lap of this race. Jonas, he's used some overtake on this lap, but it hasn't really done much for him. Felix just sort of holding him at arm's reach here. And if there is going to be a move, it's going to have to be done pretty soon. We've got a change of position as Ugi moves past Bando Biz into 8th. Tom AJ is rapidly falling into the clutch, and we've got a yellow flag. We've got a yellow flag, and that's because Bando Biz. Oh, Bando Biz has had a problem. He's got wing damage. He's obviously gone into the wall on the exit of turn 2. And that's really destroyed Bando Biz's race on the final lap. He was just climbing into the points before then, but that's ended his race not the way he would have wanted to. And he will not be scoring points here tonight, which will be a bit of a will be a massive disappointment to him. I don't know if there's any contact with anybody. It didn't look like it, but anyway, coming up to the last couple of corners here, turn 13, Felix looked like he was going to be under significant pressure from Jonas. It has proved that way, but he has fended off that pressure, and barring anything in the last few corners, Felix is going to hold on here to take the first win of PSGL F7 in season 27. Felix rounds the final corner and goes across the line to win here at Albert Park. He takes the victory. Well done to him. And I believe once everything's said and done, it'll be Tim Matz who will take the final spot on the podium. And then we just got to see how everything else turns out. It's Tim Matz in 3rd. Ugi moves up to 4th because of penalties. Valken 5th. Tom 6th. Powdy 3 gloves in 8th. Juice has dropped to 9th. Game Freaker is in 10th. Is Juice going to remain in the points? That's a pretty decent result, all things considered, for Juice. I was worried he was going to drop out the points, but he's managed to remain in them. But it's Felix who takes the win. Jonas is in 2nd, and Tim Matz takes 3rd. And Ugi, I've got to say, there's lack of penalties he picked up really contributed to him salvaging an excellent 4th in the end. A really enjoyable race here in Australia, and the reigning champion very nearly got his season off to the perfect start, but Felix held him off at the death, didn't make any mistakes that Jonas could capitalise on. And here's the podium finishes then. I think all 3 of them will be very happy to be up on that podium. Jonas might feel like a win was there for him, but I don't think there'll be any disappointment on that podium tonight. In terms of my driver of the day, tough one actually. I'm actually going to give it to Tim Matz on that one. I think he drove an excellent race. Didn't really seem to get involved in much of the battling, but that actually worked to his favour, and in the end he got a very strong podium out of it, and I think he deserves driver of the day. He wasn't the quickest out there, but he drove a really intelligent, smart race to get onto the podium at the end of it. So yeah, Tim Matz will be my driver of the day. I think Powdy deserves a mention as well, going from 19th to 7th, and obviously it goes without saying, but the top 2 as well did an excellent job. Valken obviously took pole. Race didn't really work out for him as he would have hoped. That contact with Juice ultimately was the end to his race in terms of getting on the podium, but still 5th place is a good solid haul of points for him, and he'll be looking for better next time out at Silverstone. Of course it is Silverstone next week, the home track of many of our drivers. I'll be back commentating on that next week, this time 8 o'clock GMT for round 2 of the F7 season. Of course, be sure to stay tuned in to PSGL, especially tomorrow night. So we've got all 6 of the top tiers in PSGL in action, including the F1 tier. I'll be back as well with commentary for F4 with myself and Felix, who just won this race. incidentally. I cannot wait for that. But yeah, until then, it's been a fantastic race for me. Really hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you all next week for round 2. Until then, it's good night from me. And I'll catch you on the flip side.